few final thoughts on this area. I was thinking, as I said, sediments. They're rocks now, not sediments. They're sedimentary rock. And they got what could be river deposits above them and more basalt above them. And the river deposits sometimes look like they may be mixed with basalt flows, because it almost looks like some columns down there and other hard, solid sections of rock. But then you get sections like this where you can see, rocks embedded into it, along with veins embedded into it. And I don't think those are pillow basalt. I could be wrong, but I don't think those are pillow basalt. I think those are, something that got flowed together into this position. Now, some of the things that I was conjecturing with was if this was like sediment, part of the Bonneville flood, why would it be up here on the top of the canyon, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And of course, if it's Bonneville flood, about the only thing that could explain basalt above the Bonneville flood would be craters of the moon, which I'm not buying into either. So that suggests to me that these deposits here, and you can see they look like coarse deposits, either a river deposit or maybe even a lahar, although I'm not really convinced to go lahar on this. But there's another rather obvious possibility, since we're in the Snake River Plain, that these could all be Yellowstone hotspot deposits. And I should have thought of that first. That makes more sense. Now, exactly what we got going on, that we got basalt flows, and we've got what look like river deposits and sedimentary deposits and large river deposits. When I talk about river deposits, potentially even lahar deposits, as part of a Yellowstone story, it all starts to make sense in that sense. If you try to make sense out of it using more recent things like craters of the moon and the Bonneville flood, none of this seems to fit that narrative at all. So I'm thinking that maybe we're looking at some of the Yellowstone hotspot history here in this area, where we got some sedimentary deposits and some other deposits above the sedimentary deposits. I don't know what to make of it, and I don't know how to interpret it properly, but yeah, I think I've kind of come to the conclusion that we're looking at Yellowstone hotspot related material here. One of the previous calderas generated by that Yellowstone hotspot in this area. And even here you can see, while you've got excuse me, and dust is starting to play with my throat. While you got what looks like a large collection of river cobbles, you've also got what looks like a basalt seam coming through it, very thin in places, or maybe something else working in. I'm sure if basalt got on top of river cobbles, it might find cracks to drain down into. It's not an unreasonable idea. But, wow. Untangling this story might take a bit of time, and maybe someone's already done it. But let's face it, all the geology is right out here on the roadside for you to check out and kind of make your own little observations of the history of the area. This looks interesting here. One of those blades that comes through, I can look right at it here, and right at the knife edge of it, it's kind of V-shaped once I see it in that angle. But yeah, this wall is an amazing place to look at the geology. If you were to try to do it over there, for example, the obstacles of trying to get up and down would be just a nightmare. Yet here, you just walk down the road and go through time. That was the sun coming out. These final thoughts I had, I'm going to kind of wrap up. I'm getting back up here where I first started filming that big 17-minute section of video. And again, this looks like part of a basalt flow right here, because it looks pretty solid. A little bit layered, but solid basalt. But up here we have what looks like some fine deposits, a thin layer of basalt, and then more of that. Boy, I tell you, I struggle to figure out what that is. River deposit, a lahar. I just don't know what to make of it. Maybe, knowing that we're looking at a Yellowstone hotspot, maybe we're looking at the actual explosion of one of the calderas and the pile of debris that dropped out of the air from that explosion. Of course, if that was the case, why would it all look like river deposits, all ground up and around it? And then, as you go, you got pieces of basalt sticking out here, right in the middle. I mean, some of these rocks are pretty good size. I mean, just as an example, this one in the center of the screen right now is probably about the size of a basketball. So those up there are all quite a bit bigger. And then when you get to here, you got a big hunk of rock, maybe a seam that connects it to that big hunk of rock. As I said, whether I'm interpreting that as basalt that flowed down into cracks in the ground, or whether it just fell in to the pile as is, or what, there's just too many things I can't sort out of this. And then again, you got all these little seams and such around a lot of these little round cobbles. I'm just not the geologist to puzzle this one together, but